background of like who you are, what you was doing before you became a CO at Ware and stuff like that.
All right, so my name is Christopher Hickox. Before working at Ware State Prison, uh, my plan was going in the military.
Mm,
That fell through, so I started putting in applications for Ware County Sheriff's Office, Waycross PD, and Ware State Prison. Ware State
mm.
Prison was the one that got back to me first.
Now, like going through the training and everything, like what is needed for that process,
Common sense.
and that's about it.
That's it. Physical training. That's a joke. Uh, I kid you not. Whenever whenever I went to BCOT, which is basic correction officer training, uh, we actually had a woman there. She got arrested at BCOT because her plan was to become an officer to get into the prison where her boyfriend was at to bring in contraband, and she got caught passing contraband to an inmate at the training facility.
Wow, wow. And she got arrested on the spot, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was no doubt about it. Inmate was caught with the contraband, and of course, inmate's gonna CYA, and yeah, he snitched on her, and she got arrested.
Wow, that's that's kind of crazy. So let me ask you this: all right, once you got your blues, how long did it take to get your blues?
It depends on whenever the training happens. Of course, like any other institution, if it's around uh the holidays, the training instructors and all that will go on break. They'll go on holiday. So I think I did mine right after Christmas,
Mm,
and it was, I think, only 6 weeks long.
wow.
Now, whenever you get to BCOT, it's kind of paramilitary, where
Yeah.
they'll come in and check your rooms and everything like that. But yeah, it's honestly not. Whenever I was there, I got paired with two guys that was military trained. They had just come out of the service, or they had been out for a while, and they was looking for a job. Which, of course,
Mhm.
that's with anybody coming out of the military. Uh, but yeah, they was the ones that showed me like how to do your military fitting on your bed and all that. And trick to that is bring your own pillow and comforter so you make your bed and just sleep on top of it.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. Now, I let me ask you this: like coming in, you got your blues, and you're coming into Ware State Prison, that level 5 camp. What does a particular day look like for you when you come through?
So the typical thing was I didn't live too far down the road, so but I would show up at least 30 minutes early, stand outside, have a cigarette because you're supposed to get breaks, but you don't. You absolutely not. It was literally a blue moon if you ever did. So I would grab my smoke break early.
Yeah.
Uh, go into front entry. You go through the whole process of getting checked in. You got to go through the body scanner. You've got to put all your stuff through the scanners. Uh, Once you get through that, you clock in. Uh, Go sit in briefing. Listen to all the nonsense they've got to say. Uh, and the only reason I call it nonsense is because it's repetitive. It's never about anything that we have brought up. Like if we saw something that the higher ups needed to know about. It got swept under the rug. So it
Mm.
was just we sat there, wait for our post, go out, swap our keys, and then head off to our post or where we're going to be at. Either it's going to be in a dorm, in the towers, in the P vehicles, over in M building. It just varied.
All right, so when you work, did you work in the dorms a lot?
Oh, absolutely.
And what is it like just coming in and relieving whatever office, and like what is going on in the dorms? Like what do you see?
Hmm. Depend on the day. Honestly, it depended on the officer too. If you had an officer who came in, had a bad attitude or just a bad day, the dorm it was typically just in a frenzy.
Yeah.
So whenever I would show up, I'd be like, "All right, how many heads we got?" And go in there, make sure that everybody's alive and kicking. Um, let those guys go. Make sure I go in and make sure the guys ain't doing nothing they ain't supposed to. Of course, there was quite a few. I mean, you'd find the random water bug, which was the way to heat up their water.
Mm.
Of course, that's contraband. Whenever I first started, whenever I came in my blues, I used to collect all of their contraband. I'm not even gonna lie. Uh, then, whenever it got to a point where I realized that uh, some of this contraband uh, just was needed because the water in there, you you'd get be lucky if majority of the time it worked, especially for like the hot water and whatnot.
Mm.
So, in all honesty, I would make a game of it when we go and do shakedowns, whatnot. It's contraband. I could have took it, and I would pile it up in the middle of the floor. And whenever it was done, I'd just walk out. I wouldn't even
Yeah.
touch it. So the guys would go in there and scatter, trying to collect their water bugs. But other than that, I mean, unless it was a shank, drugs, cell phones, something of that caliber, then I had an issue with it because that is a safety risk.
Yeah. Now, how many cell phones you think that you probably confiscated through your time there?
I've probably confiscated anywhere from 10 to 15 of them. Um, in all honesty, there was two of them that I distinctly remember. Uh, one of them was some Mexican fellows. They were part of the, what was it? It wasn't MS-13. They had another gang in there. I can't exactly remember what it was, but
The
they were a part of it.
Selenos,
Possibly, like I said, it's been.
Nietas.
I'm not 100%.
Okay.
I do remember the guy had come up to the window and he says, "Hey, officer, um, I lost my wedding ring behind the toilet because those things they do pop off the wall. All stainless steel toilet." So I was like, "All right, well, I'll get maintenance down and we'll go in there and get it because I mean, wedding band, especially in prison, you definitely don't want to lose that." So we went and popped open the door that's behind the toilets for the maintenance to work on the pipes. And he was trying to get in there and get it. I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm gonna go in there and get it." And as soon as I looked in, I told him to get into a cell because it was a cell phone stuffed in a eyeglass case. The second
Wow.
one, I was working I building, which is a four dorm open dorm, and one of the inmates had asked to be let out of his dorm to go and talk to the barber. So I said, "Yeah, sure, not a problem." So I stepped out and let him go and talk to the barber. Well, whenever the dude turned around to go back to his dorm, a smartphone dropped out of his pocket, It busted open and the battery slid across the floor to my foot. So I picked up the battery. He picked up the back of the cell phone and the cell phone and stuffed in his pocket and was trying to get back into the dorm. So I walk up to him and I say, "Hey man, you can go ahead and give it to me. I already saw it. I've got the battery in my pocket." He says, "I ain't got none." So I say, "Man, look, you hand it to me. Your name's not going to go in the paperwork. I'll say I found it. You don't, I'm going to have to call Lieutenant down here and it's going to be one heck of a show." So he says, "Man, you sure my name's not going to be in the paperwork?" I said, "No paperwork on it." So he handed me the cell phone. I put him back in his dorm, called up my lieutenant and says, "Hey, I got something for you." Handed him the cell phone. No paperwork like that. As long as you treated them with respect, I mean, yes, they're humans. They did stuff that was bad. I can understand that. As long as you understand that I'm there to do a job and you're there to do your time, that's fine. I can handle that. But you start making time for everybody else harder, my time harder, then we all gonna have an issue, and it's not just
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can definitely dig it. Now, like what type like because when I was there and they were just kind of like bringing the cell phones in, right? And they were saying mandatory 5 years if you get caught with this cell phone. Like, what did it change to after the time?
Oh no, it was still mandatory. Cell phones are considered an escape device.
Hmm.
So, uh, yeah, being even if you got like a saw blade from maintenance or any type of cutting utensil, that could be considered an escape device.
Hmm.
Cell phones, the reason why they made it to the point of being an escape device, uh, I can't remember exactly what prison it was, but there was an inmate that got a hold of a cell phone and called his people outside, and these people flew a helicopter into the prison to get him out.
Mm. Yeah, that's major. I think I might have heard of that situation before, and I think he was going around like he did that a couple times. Like I'm pretty sure this person did this a couple times, and this was it in London or something?
I think so. I'm honestly thinking so. I mean, the last reports that I got from London, and I kid you not, it was crazy. Was those guys in prison there are still using pigeons to fly stuff in and out.
Wow.
Yeah, I've never heard of a pigeon carrying a cell phone, but yeah, they've actually caught it on video, and I was like, wow. All right, that's a first.
Now, tell me this: have you ever saw or heard of a situation where like an officer is working with any of the inmates or any of the gangs inside of there bringing contraband in for them and get caught?
Yeah, I've done it quite a few times. Majority of the time, it was female officers uh, or female staff that were not officers.
Hmm.
Uh, the biggest fish that I ever saw was the warden at the time.
Mm. And how was he making drops? Like, how was that possible?
Well, let me tell you, I actually had to sit in front of GBI because of it. Uh, he was all right. So whenever you go through front entry, it doesn't matter who you are. You're supposed to be checked in. That's all of your stuff needs to be scanned. You can't have any solid colored totes or bags bringing your food in. It has to be clear or mesh.
Hmm.
Your boots have to be scanned, and you yourself have to go through a body scanner. Though this warden at the time refused to do any of that. He had a black book bag full of stuff whenever he would enter, and whenever he would leave, it would be empty. On the weekend, he wouldn't even go to front entry. He'd walk to the back entrance, carrying a giant bag, black trash bag full of stuff, come out empty-handed. And he'd head right over to INL building. And if anybody want to look at it, it's the two closest buildings next to the road on the map.
Yeah. Yep. Yo, that's crazy work right there. Did he ever get caught for doing that?
GBI. All right. So the issue with GBI was actually my lieutenant at the time. He was a great lieutenant. Morale all around. Uh, Whenever even the inmates knew that he was running shift, uh, it better be a smooth day, or else we was going to be shaking down the entire prison.
Mm-hmm.
But he was like one of two or three lieutenants out there that had the highest morale, to the point that whenever, what was it? We went to briefing, and I think we had over 40 people in briefing. First time ever having over 40 people. And next thing you know, the uh, warden that was dirty, uh, he was having a affair with one of these female sergeants.
Mm.
Yeah. So she went to tell the warden for whatever reason. Warden come out and told my lieutenant he needed to send everybody home he called in, but allow the people she called in to stay. He called in people he knew would work. She called in people she wanted to hang out with at work.
Wow.
Well, my lieutenant, it was actually the shift right before he went on his vacation, because he had accrued a lot of vacation time. And he had told the warden, "This is my shift. This is my people. I'm going to send the people home that she sent home." The warden told him, "No, you can do what I tell you, or you can leave." My lieutenant says, "All right, then I'm taking my vacation early." So we had all made a plan to get a call out,
Mm-hmm.
because that warden, you've got to respect the people that you put in charge. You don't do that, well, now that's going to go down the line. So you had our entire shift call out. We did it right. We called, said, "Hey, we're not coming in," and it was before shift started. Of course, with our lieutenant gone, the warden was the one taking all the calls. So, needless to say, he was highly ticked. Well, because we did that, we ended up getting investigated by Georgia Department of Corrections higher ups. They actually came down, and I think I ended up taking like a 5% pay cut, even though we called in the right way, but it was because it was a mass call out. But we only I took a 5% pay cut for like 3 months. So it really wasn't that much. Well, that sent investigations all the way up to GBI. GBI
Mm.
came in, and whenever I had the interview with them, I was on record. And yeah, I told him, I said, "Yeah, the warden did this. I didn't want to come in. I couldn't respect him." So after getting that done, writing out my statement, they turned off the recordings. They said, "Now, what can you tell me about the warden? What do you want to know?"
Wow.
So I sat there. I told them everything, because my one rule was I come in on my days. I do my job. I did it by the book. On my off days, if I wasn't doing anything and one of my favorite lieutenants would call me, yeah, I'll come in. I ain't got a problem. I know I'm going to have an easy day with one of my lieutenants. Other times, say I'm out fishing or I'm drinking. Lieutenant calls and, sir, I've got a pole in my hand. He says, all right, never mind. You ain't coming in. Or I'm drinking. He says, never mind. I had
Mm-hmm.
respect on that part. Uh, but yeah, whenever the warden was, uh, I guess, investigated, I ended up getting a call from one of the officers that was working on a different shift. Uh, they walked in. I'm guessing it was higher authorities or whatnot. I honestly don't know. All I know is they had drove up to the warden's house with a black SUV, got him, took him away, then came back, packed up his office, put him in the back of the SUV, and took off. They never charged him. They just let him retire.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's vicious. Now, when it comes to like, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. When it comes to the inmates, and if something happens in the dorm, right, and they're ready to go to war, or they're having a standoff, have you ever saw it ignite, like something just happened in the dorm?
Quite a few times, there was different things to tell what different things were going on. So with the war, uh, all the guys would lace up. They'd get their tennis shoes, they'd lace up. The Some of them would have their shirts on, but it'd look bulky. They'd make some type of armor. Other guys that were younger guys, hot blooded, ready to go, they'd have their shirt off, pumping themselves up. You can definitely tell when the energy was going to go south.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Now, whenever, say, one of the gang members goes and fucks with another gang, typically it would be their gang's job to discipline him
Mm-hmm.
instead of the other gang doing it. So I've seen that quite a few times where somebody get their tail whooped, and I do mean whooped. Uh, they'd have split heads from being beat or whatnot. Worst one I saw was guy wasn't following the rules, and I was actually working with one of our lieutenants that uh, he wasn't on a shift, but he was one of our extra lieutenants doing like the different rounds and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I was working with him, and dude hit the door, bleeding, screaming. They had done stabbed him for whatever he had done. So they was putting him on the door. They had already had his stuff packed and everything. And my lieutenant I was working with, he's like, "I'll take care of this." And I said, "Yeah, I'll get started on the paperwork." So
All
it
right.
was just
So
another
look,
day for us.
for the people that just came in, or the people that don't know about the politics of the chain gang, you said putting him on the door. What does that actually mean?
He's being evicted. He is not allowed to stay in that dorm.
By all means.
By all means, it's either by death, medical, or he gets put out. He puts himself on the door,
Yeah.
depending on how bad the situation was.
Wow. So have you ever been on shift where somebody got unalived in assault or something like that?
Assaults, that was a current thing. 1010s, which was inmate on inmate calls. That was nearly an everyday thing. Uh, Death. I think it was my first year in blues. If my wife was out here, she could tell you his name. Because she was there training whenever this happened. But it was blood versus a Mexican. I think it was an MS-13 at this point. And if anybody knows, MS-13 does not play around in the prison system. Absolutely not. They are one of the scariest gangs out there. Um, But I still remember that day to this day. The guy was walking down the sidewalk. He had called for me to open up the gate because we separated the dorms. So I walked out there and let him go down to his dorm. This happened in D building. Oh wait, his name was Benjamin Carey. If anybody wants to know, Benjamin Carey.
Hmm.
Uh, so it happened. I'd have to say maybe 10 minutes after I had let him through, and he was cussing at me. This dude was a hothead from the get go. I honestly think that he didn't have very many smarts in him, but anyways, he was cussing at me. I told him, "Hey man, you got to watch that mouth, otherwise it's gonna come back to bite you one day." So I went to go sit back in my control dorm, and next, we got a call over the radio, 1010 at D building. So we run down there. The Mexican guy is standing on a sally port, still holding the weapon. It was a brass rod that he had gotten out of the showers. It's where they push the button to start the water. He had broke that out and took the brass rod and sharpened it to a point. So he had a brass rod of, I think it was around 16 inches long, and I think 4 or 5 inches was wrapped up in t-shirts.
Yeah, for good grip.
Yeah, exactly, and even had the loop so it doesn't slip off your wrist. So he was standing on the sally port. He had very little blood on him, but we had to make sure that we got the weapon away from him before we could go in and secure everything. He had tossed it out. I was the one that picked it up, uh, got him into handcuffs, took him down to lockdown. That was another officer that did that. We ran inside, pepper balls, pepper spray, bear spray. Um, we didn't fire anything, but we had it just in case because this was a massive weapon. We needed to make sure that everybody was safe. Uh, we got in, everybody immediately locked down, and I started looking around for the injured guy, and I could see an arm laying over the banister, the second floor. So when we ran up, uh, we actually, whenever we're trained, a cadet is not supposed to touch anything, especially with an inmate. However, we did have a cadet try to do CPR. Me and another officer who used to be on the CERT team, which is Correctional Emergency Response Team. He had traded his blacks back to blues. Me and him took one look, and there was nothing we could do. They had literally punctured right here, and it went straight down to his heart. He had no
Mm.
blood coming out of his wound, but his eyes had already glossed over.
Wow. Wow.
I'll tell you right now, it's something that you will not forget.
Yeah, I can believe it. I can definitely believe it. Now, like I would tell people about like mad jackers and stuff like that, and a lot of people don't
Hold on.
believe how
It looks like
vicious.
somebody here. What was going through your mind while this was happening? Honestly, I'll tell you right now. By that point, I, I've gotten to see brain matter. I've gotten to see eyes out of the sockets. Uh, I've seen limbs damn near chopped off. Uh, Whenever I saw that, honestly, the first thing that came to my mind, I leaned up against the wall and says, "I need a cigarette."
Mm, mm. That's deep. That's deep. Now, this the eyes out the socket. What's going on with that situation? What happened?
Could have been anything. Uh, Whenever I saw that happen, the guy, I believe it was either a medical call or a chow call. I can't remember. But he got attacked on the walk. I'm guessing they got him with a lock with a sock.
Yeah.
And yeah, dude, all you saw was him walking around and it was dangling down, and you could see the nerve just holding it there.
Mm, that's That's crazy. Now the chopping, like the limbs almost coming off, is you would say that was an attack from the Mexicans or what?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, so while working out there, I think the longest machete I ever found was I think about 2 feet long. Uh, that was made from a locker. Somebody in fabrications, or not fabrications, but maintenance, got a hold of a
Mhm.
piece and traded it to him. But yeah, the longest one I've seen like that. But yeah, well, the longest one I've found was like that. The longest one I've ever seen was at BCOT, and somebody legit made a medieval's uh, two-handed sword.
What?
Yeah, it was. I think that one was anywhere between 3 and 4 feet long. It had the cross guards. It had the grip on it. But yeah, they actually got it up for display up there at BCOT in Forsyth.
That's crazy work right there, man. That is actually crazy work, man. Now
Now,
hold on, let me see.
the most impressive knife I've ever found.
Hmm.
Somebody made Rambo's knife. Had the serrated back. Had the hole in the blade. Uh, I think it was anywhere from 6 to 8 inches just for the blade. But yeah, they took their time with that one.
Yeah, yeah, I can believe that. That's a real combat type of knife right there. That's crazy. That's crazy as I don't know what. Now, like, hold on, my man said Mad Jackers laughing out loud. We called them gunslingers at the camp. Do you have any stories of seeing how when these guys that do the mad jacking, how they be psyched out and stuff like that? And have you ever saw them in action? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. I've actually got a fun story about that. So whenever we do a chow call, they've got to go through what's called the loop that goes around the big yard. It's a double chain fence. It's 3 ways covered, concrete walk, chain links both sides of you and on top, and leads all the way around the walk all the way up to the chow hall. Well, there's a
Hmm.
part of it where the cameras does not see, and usually at that point is where we have a female officer stationed, and that's where they would do their mad jacking. Uh, the female officers were told they can do nothing about it. Their reports didn't go anywhere. They couldn't defend themselves any type of way. So it was straight molestation right there in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Uh, there was one female officer I had great respect for, and she had kept telling the supervisors, "Hey, this keeps going on. This keeps going on." They wouldn't do anything. So I finally told her, I said, "Hey, let me know whenever they do it. Just call my name over the radio, and I'll know exactly what's going on." She called me over the radio when chow was going, so I walked straight up the loop in there with the inmates. Came up right behind them, and well, I did what they was doing. Whenever they saw what I was doing, they, "What the heck's going on? What are you doing, officer?" "Hey, I thought this was a sausage fest." Yeah, they didn't do that on my walk anymore. It
Wow.
sounds wrong. It sounds wrong, but you've got to treat them the exact way that they're treating others.
That's diabolical right there. I'm surprised you ain't make no enemies out of that situation, man.
Honestly, so whenever I was working out there, I ended up with the nickname Officer Asshole. Whenever other inmates would come up and call me Officer Hickox, there'd be other inmates walking up saying, "Nah, that ain't Officer Hickox. That's Officer Asshole." That's because I did it by the book. You made me do paperwork. It's not going to be good for you. I had one guy that he was being loud, obnoxious, and just all out respectful to anybody. Didn't matter if he was an inmate or an officer, or even one of the maintenance guys coming down. So yeah, I got some payback on him. I wrote a DR form, which was disciplinary report.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't turn it in though, but there's a code, a DR code for uh, bodily hygiene. So I wrote in there, I, Officer Hickox, gave this inmate an order to go get a shower and clean due to bodily hygiene. Inmate stated, "You do it." That's what I put into the report, and I went into the dorm and I read it out loud and handed it to him. Needless to say, I didn't have to hear from him for the rest of the day because, well, he became the joke of the dorm for it. Hello, love.
Yeah, sound about right. Sound sounds about right. Now, have you ever been in a situation or around? Matter of fact, when you was working there, did it start to like simmer down with the security where it was lack of staffing at Ware State Prison?
Even my
Yeah,
wife's standing here and shaking her head. Yeah, it got is so bad. So it's supposed to be well per LOP and SOP. You're supposed to have one officer per dorm. So that would mean you would have an officer in the control room and one officer per each side. Well, whenever I started there, it was only one officer in the control room and one officer on the floor. By the time, what was it, 2.5 years in for me? About a year and a half, year for you? So my 2.5 years, about a year after my wife started, that dropped. I was floor officer for 4 dorms. So that's one officer for 400 inmates.
wow. For
Yeah, my
four
wife
dorm.
here, she had to do 4 dorms and medical. So yeah,
Did you ever have to like save her from like getting disrespected from any of these inmates before?
there was one point where we wasn't dating while we was working there. One of our things was, one of my things was you don't date where you work because that is just bad policy. Uh, we actually hooked up afterwards because well, we both quit at around the same time. But
Hmm.
one thing you don't do in there is disrespect your female officers. Uh, we got a call for 1078, which was an officer inmate altercation where she and 2 other female officers were going to do count all the heads in the building, and she ended up coming up to a room where they was openly had their cell phone out. Well, she went to back out of the door, and the other 2 female officers allowed an inmate to get past her, past them to her. So you had an inmate in front of her and an inmate behind her. They grabbed a hold of her, trying to throw her over the banister. She locked her arms out and ended up with severe nerve damage in her elbow from them banging her up against the doorway. Uh, but yeah, whenever we got the call, I can tell you right now, we couldn't open up gates or anything fast enough, especially whenever it comes to a female. And yeah, whenever we got there, the guy got brought out in handcuffs, and I said, "Who'd you put your hands on?" He says, "Man, that bitch in there." Excuse my language, but that's exactly what he said. And I said, "No, who'd you put your hands on?" And he said, "Officer Mondragon." I said, "Wrong choice." Sent his ass down to the hole where he was stuck in suicide watch.
Hmm.
Whenever he got out, from the stories I got told afterwards, was the dorm wasn't happy with him because, well, whenever a female officer gets injured or whatnot, because she had to go out on medical leave, you get me. Those dorms down there was typically only female ran. Well, you mess with a female, guess what? You got me.
Yeah.
I'm not nice like the females. I'm a nice guy, but I'm not nice like the females. So yeah, they was pissed because they got me for I think it was like 3 weeks straight.
Mm. Yeah, I
So
know. Like, I know they think it's sweet in the dorms when it's just females, and then to get a male. Yeah, I can dig it. I can definitely dig that. Hold up. Is there any question? Do we have any questions going on right here? Hold up.
I haven't
Hold
seen
up.
anybody. Yeah, I'm working on it, baby.
It's in the neck beard as well. All right. So, have you seen a officer like get attacked by an inmate, like a male on male situation?
Oh yeah, I've actually been attacked myself.
Oh, what would you like to explain what happened?
Usually, whenever I got attacked, it was young bucks coming into the prison system, newbies. They were trying to show out for the other inmates, talking about they could take on an officer, whatnot. And yeah, I remember at one point I was passing out mail to the other inmates, and of course, the rule still stood. If y'all made me do paperwork, then it's gonna be all hell. But y'all do what y'all got to do. Follow the rules while I'm here. Y'all ain't gonna have nothing to worry about. Well, as I'm passing out the mail, one of these new guys come up and he actually put his hands on me. Well, before I could get a swing in, the other inmates, they literally drug him across the floor away from me. And whenever the supervisors came down, they had already packed all of his stuff and put him on the door.
Mm, okay. Okay. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. You must have been running a tight shift. Like they messed with you in that dorm.
Yeah, yeah. So again, there were certain things that I was let by. If I come across you and you're smoking weed, if it's something so tiny, what am I going to do with that? I'm not going to put paperwork on that. Throw it in the toilet, flush it.
Mm,
I'm not going to worry about that. Uh, Finding Shanks' cell phones. If you're dumb enough to have it out in front of me, yeah, I'm gonna have to do paperwork on it because now I've got it. I've seen
yeah.
it, and if you don't hand it over, then it's going to be a bigger problem than that, and the entire dorm is going to be pissed because they're all going to be put on lockdown.
Yeah. That's
So
that's a fact.
yeah, they've got to make a choice. You give them the choices. You either hand it over calmly, or the entire dorm is going to be pissed off at you.
Now, I'm gonna ask you this: who can come to mind if I say that you ran across one of the most dangerous or known to be dangerous inmates while you was at Ware State Prison? Who will come to mind?
Dangerous. That's a good question. Let me think that. Honestly, the only ones I've ever considered dangerous would have had to been the uh Goodfellas that was in lockdown.
The Goodfellas. Yeah, I speak about the GFs a lot.
Yeah,
I
the
speak about them a lot.
with them, uh, whenever they would ever have to be moved, I think it was a minimum of like 5 officers that had to be around them.
Mm, that's deep. And why did they get dubbed dangerous? Why would they say that these individuals are dangerous?
Because they didn't care who you were. You could have been another inmate. You could have been an officer. If they've got an order, a hit order put out, uh, if they got the chance, they'd do it.
Mm,
They've attacked. There was The last time I heard was a officer got a hit put on him, and the inmate put a shank through his neck.
Mm. Gee. So in I'm say in order groups, who would you say is like from the most dangerous on down to they're just good in there? Who like what set of gangs would you say?
Uh, well, I can tell you right now, as far as I remember, yeah, the Goodfellas, uh, they were mostly kept in solitary confinement. But the most dangerous out there, well, was the Muslim Brotherhood.
Hmm.
Now, a lot of people they'll talk about the Bloods, the Crips, MS-13. Uh, yeah, they're big in name and in numbers, but compared to the Muslim Brotherhood, no, they were kitty cats compared to them.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can definitely dig it. Nice. I tell stories, and I try to be as transparent as I can. And when I actually tell the stories of what took place when I was there, when I'm saying it, it don't even sound believable. Like that I went and I saw this type of stuff. And I'm like, Dad, it's gonna be hard for people to believe that I was there. Like, and I was actually with the Muslims from the time I came in Muslim, left out the same way. And like I know when I came to Valdosta State Prison, like my stuff was stolen as soon as I got there. And
Mhm.
once the person went into my stuff and started bringing out prayer rugs and kufis and all, he knew that he was in a situation. So I had to go door to door to find him. And once I called out, Assalamu alaikum, and I told them that my stuff got stolen, they came out. It was so many of them that came out, and we went door to door. And when we found the person on the top tier, the last door that we went to, he got poured out and he got thrown over the top tier, right?
Yep.
And some people like, nah, that's cap. They wouldn't let that happen. I was like, nah, it
Yeah,
happened.
it happens.
Yeah, it definitely happened. Now, what do you know about the riot that broke out at Ware State Prison?
I probably know just about as much uh, as anybody that was standing outside that fence that night, but not as much as somebody that was inside.
Okay, what did it look like? What was going on? What was taking place?
Hell, just hell. There was fires put out, started everywhere. Uh, Smoke, pepper ball, uh, pepper ball gas, CO gas. Uh, I still can't believe that the Department of Corrections labeled that as a minor disturbance. The people that I saw coming out of there that night, it was unimaginable.
Mm, mm.
Uh, if anybody's seen the videos, the officer that got walked around in handcuffs, he was my sergeant whenever I was working out there. I had left about 2 years prior, and it was my shift. That was my family, and he ended up getting stabbed. In the video, they don't show it, but whenever he hits the ground, that's because they tripped him, and then they started stabbing him multiple times in the back. I think he ended up with like 30 stab wounds. Uh, the unit manager out there, he was actually my captain. Whenever I left, he had got a promotion to unit manager. Uh, they split his skull in two places. His eye was stabbed. Uh, they had stabbed him multiple times in the chest area. He actually ended up with a punctured lung. They had to airlift him out of that area and take it to the hospital.
Wow.
There was another guy. One of the lie, uh, one of the softest spoken guys you could possibly ever meet. Um, if you looked at this guy, you would never think that he would work in corrections. Uh, they tried to slit his throat over his keys and radio. There was an older gentleman that was in lockdown. He was thrown down a flight of concrete stairs, and it was an orderly that grabbed him up and threw him inside of an empty cell and shut the door
To
and
save him.
stood in front of it. The female officers that were working that night, other inmates did try to get in to get them, but there was inmates that blocked the control room doors, protecting them. But if you was a guy, they try to
Yeah.
kill you.
Ware State Prison, Waycross, Georgia,
And that was only
Waycross,
the first
Georgia.
one.
Mm,
The second one happened exactly a year later to the month. Both of them happened in August.
mm-hmm,
The next one of the lockdown guys, uh, the last I heard from him, they beat him so bad he cannot live alone by himself anymore. He does not have the mental capability to be able to live on his own anymore.
mm. That's diabolical right there, man. That is diabolical, and yet
Now, another
still.
thing that I did get confirmation on
Mm-hmm,
was from the videos. It shows the two inmates on the floor, both of them bleeding. They were
mm-hmm.
shot. They was
As
shot by
in
the deputy warden at the time.
with the actual firearm.
Yeah, they. I'm not gonna give out any officers' names, but this officer told me she was riding in the perimeter vehicle, and the war. I guess he was the warden at this time. Yeah, he was the warden at this time, if I remember correctly. He came up and took her sidearm that she carries while in the perimeter vehicle and took it inside the facility, which is a no-no in any corrections facility, and fired shots.
Mm, wow, wow.
And if I remember correctly as well, he was allowed to retire after that incident.
With no problem.
Nope, none.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that a new guy coming to a place like Ware State Prison, like what would be the biggest mistake that you can say that they can make coming there?
Are you talking about an officer or an inmate or any type of
Inmate,
employee?
inmate.
An inmate? Well, first off, don't get in trouble. If you do get in trouble and you go there, keep your head down. Don't stick your neck out. Don't take anything that somebody says here, it's free, because it's not. They want something later on. Uh, do your time. Don't make it hard. Don't think that you're in there with friends. You'll get thrown under the bus faster than anything. You'll get ran over. You'll get squished. They don't care. And there's a few other things, but this is YouTube, so catch my drift.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um, just hearing this stuff right here, like it just brings back a lot of memories. And for you saying it, like I just want to ask you, like how are you doing after all of that?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. So before going to Ware State Prison, I was planning on going to the military. I've always been a military brat. My parents wasn't in the military. That's one thing I always wanted to go to do. Uh, so training up beforehand. Yeah, whenever I got there, I was still in military mindset. That got burned out real quick. But afterwards, uh, I can tell you now that it doesn't matter if it's during the day or at night. If I hear any type of little sound that's out of place, I'll know exactly what direction it's coming from.
Mm,
Now, I
that's
will tell
deep.
you, after all of the stuff I've seen out there, honestly, if I'm out in public and something happens, whether it's there's blood involved, somebody died or whatnot, it's just another day for me, and that's because of how much you've seen out there. It's crazy. I mean, in all honesty, and believe it or not, with everything that's happened out there, there was only one time where I ended up. I honestly I needed like a week off from work, and that was a hostage situation.
What happened?
So as I was sitting in my control room talking with another floor officer and my control room officer, just sitting there goofing off, it seemed like the world went completely silent whenever a woman screamed. And I don't mean it just a regular scream, I mean blood curdling. That'll make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It came over the radio. We sat there for like a few seconds, which felt like minutes in silence, waiting for something. And then it came over the radio again. So we busted out of there and started. We was all running around the facility looking like chickens with our head cut off, trying to figure out where this was coming from. Uh, Finally found that it was in the. I think it was in our intake area. Uh, Woman screaming over the radio, "He's gonna kill me!" So we immediately had to do a uh, full facility lockdown, do an emergency count. I think we actually did the emergency count twice, making sure that we all had our numbers. And it wasn't until I think shift change whenever I finally got a hold of my lieutenant and asked, "What the hell happened?" And he tells me it was a simulation. I've never felt my blood run so cold. I tell you what, I was doing the rest of my shift in tunnel vision. I walked past people, they're asking me something, and I ghost right by them. I wasn't even hearing them.
That's deep. That's deep. Wow. 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 So now that it's been it's been 6 years since you've been gone, and that's kind of like behind you, or you're getting it way in your past, like you're doing way better now, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'll tell you one thing. I'm a lot happier working out there. So whenever you're on shift, you're supposed to be on shift 12 hours. You're not supposed to be anything over that. However, while working out there, I was working anywhere from 18 to 24s.
Mm,
Um, you get burned out like that. So yeah, whenever I was telling you I was going fishing, I made it a mandatory thing. My long weekends, my tail was off to Brunswick, and I was saltwater fishing all weekend. I used to be chubby whenever I was working out there, but whenever I started going fishing, I kid you not. I was actually called into HR to do drug screening because they thought that I was on meth or something because of how much weight I lost. But no, it
Mm,
was more of trying to get myself back mentally because that place just drains the life out of you. There was an officer out there. He was only, I think, maybe 31 or 32 years old. But whenever you looked at this guy, it looked like he was in his late to early 70s. I mean, gray hair, teeth falling out, skin wrinkled. He was only 30. I no, I couldn't do that. No.
wow, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
No, listen, you got a question here. Why? Because of lack of staff. What would that be?
Hold on. It says why? Because of lack of staff. What do you mean by that? Or
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. For this Anthony Reed, yeah, that's exactly. I wasn't part of the boys' club. I tried to go up for a sergeant's position and was denied every single time because I wasn't uh part of the boys' club. I was never going to get a promotion. He says the 18 to absolutely, absolutely. So you're supposed to have over 30 people on staff at all times at Ware State Prison. And at whenever I was working there, we had maybe I think 14.
Mm,
And whenever the riot happened, they had less than 10.
oh yeah, that's the complete takeover situation.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So per SOP, yeah, SOP, whenever a facility cannot maintain staffing at their facility per security reasons, there are multiple steps that need to be taken. So whenever we drop to where me being the only person running 4 buildings, which was not safe, you're supposed to do 30 minutes post checks every 30 minutes, right? How am I supposed to do that whenever there's 4 buildings? Each building has 2 dorms. That's 400 inmates that I've got to look after. I can't be doing 30-minute post checks every 30 minutes, especially for each side.
Mm.
It says, did you ever witness excessive force by a CO? By a regular corrections officer? No. By part of the CERT team? Yes.
And what does that look like?
All right, so the CERT team was also another part of the boys club. Um, if you didn't follow them, you was against them. I remember taking a fan from one inmate because he had altered it and
Mm,
it had become a literal fire hazard. It was shooting out sparks. No, that's not okay. I don't need my dorm catching on fire and then me taking the heat for it. So I took it and confiscated it and wrote him a receipt saying I took this. Here's your receipt. And I kid you not, the CERT team brought it back to the inmate that same day on my shift and told me not to mess with him.
what?
My guess is he was one of their little informants.
Wow.
But yeah,
Keep
it
the
wasn't just on
inmates.
inmates either. At one point, I kid you not, again before we left the prison, me and my wife now we used to carpool because I lived right down the road and she lived another county over. So we was on different shifts. I did my car broke down. We'd swap out. I go home, sleep, bring pick her up the next day. Right. Uh, I don't know what she had done to piss off the CERT team, but they tried to plant stuff in her car.
Oh,
She Yeah, whenever they called for a vehicle inspection on her vehicle, and whenever she came outside, she asked for a supervisor, and the CERT team told her, "No, we don't need a supervisor." So she then called the sheriff's office that says, "I need an officer out here to witness the search." One of the CERT team members quickly turned around and walked away.
No, that's wicked. That's wicked behavior right there, man.
Oh yeah,
That is a,
absolutely. It happened all too often. If it got ridiculous. I mean, honestly, so whenever you're first out there, good portion of your time as a recruit is walking around with the CERT team doing cell searches and all that. Which, by the way, whenever I left, we actually stopped doing cell searches altogether. Stopped going after contraband. Uh, yeah, anything that they was doing wrong, you could forget about it.
wow. That's probably why it is the way it is now. Like everybody has phones, everybody's doing things online, showing the dorms now freely and doing all this type of madness. Like they can walk past an officer. The officer can be right there and throw up the deuces and stuff like that. Like it looks very diabolical, especially even in Jackson State Prison. Like how is all that vicious attacks happening at the diagnostics? How like it doesn't make no sense, man. It really doesn't, man.
Oh, you
Look,
got another
we going
question here. It says, "Did you ever witness a CO participate in bringing in contraband?" I think we already covered this, but
hmm
if you didn't hear, absolutely. Majority of the time, it was female officers. I've lost count of how many times they were taken out in handcuffs. The last one I remember seeing, and it was crazy stuff. It was during the winter time. Female officer come in wearing a scarf and two nice, pretty diamond earrings. Well, whenever it was time to leave, she didn't have that scarf no more, and one earring was missing. They found the inmate with the earring, and the scarf was wrapped around his junk.
wow.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
you say that the female COs will get into relationships with the inmates there?
Oh, yeah, constantly. There was one where I had. She actually got caught in front entry. Um, so the policy was at the time you just had to put your tote bag in the scanner and walk through with your boots on. Well, then they changed it to where you had to take your boots off and put those through the scanner as well. And this female, she was a heavy set black woman. And whenever she bent over to take off her boots, the back of her jeans popped open. But they didn't pop open by the seams. She had removed the seams and put in Velcro for ease of access.
Yo, wow,
Now, the
wow.
newest story that I got to hear just happened not too long ago, where, which is funny enough. So, you have an officer barber in the prison. This is an inmate that only cuts officers' hairs. Well, it turns out that he worked his magic and got one of the HR ladies, and they got caught.
Mm,
She was fired immediately.
yeah, I can believe it. I can definitely believe it. Now,
Yeah, I think this only happened like a couple months ago.
this is gonna be like my ending question, but like I want you to think about this before you say it. But if guys that's in the prison, if they become a administrative orderly, where they work with administration all up there, and that this is their job duty, um, what are they likely looked as by the rest of the people in the compound?
Hmm. That would be trying to think of the term here. That would be your courier. He's the one to get you all the information around the compound. He's got all of the connections. He's the guy. If you need something, that's who you go to.
If you need something, that's who you go to. And would you say that him and the warden just might have a little connection too?
Depends. I don't know who the new warden is. Um, but at the time, whenever I first started, and I'll say his name, Warden Gramiak was the one that I went in front of GBI on. Uh, Now he had lots of connections with the inmates.
Mm,
Uh, I kid you not. All right, so for me, prison is supposed to be where you go to pay back your time to society for the wrongs that you have done, right?
correct.
Yeah, no, not whenever this warden was there. I kid you not. It was spring break in Miami.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm talking about. Uh, there was an inmate band. He I don't know how the heck he got funding for it or whatnot, but they had new instruments. There was a huge block party out in the middle of the yard. Uh, you talking about all the food that you could ever want? Yeah, it was definitely Miami springtime.
Wow. That's deep. That's deep.
But
Um,
like I said,
for the,
he was getting paid. And I'll tell you right now, if you look it up for inmates' rights here in Georgia, the last I saw it was on Facebook. He is actually the leader of that group.
you talking about the human coalition?
I'm not 100%. It was called inmates' rights. Uh,
Okay.
Back whenever I found it out, I kid you not, he actually messaged my wife. This is after we had left, and when we looked up the page to see exactly what was going on, it said Tom Gramiak as the leader. So I sent him a message and told him to take his dirty tail on somewhere. I'm not
Wow.
sorry about that.
Yeah, I can dig it. I can dig it. For those who just came into the live, this is Big Miz from the zoo, and I'm speaking to a ex-correctional officer that was at Ware State Prison in Waycross, Georgia. But we're coming to the end of this interview. Y'all will have to go back and check it out once it's posted. I want to thank you for your time, and just want to let you know that I think that you're very brave for going in there, you know what I'm saying, handling your business, sticking to how you wanted to run your show, and actually going through it without breaking or folding and getting out of there alive, man. You know what I'm saying? So I want to thank you, and you can tell your wife, good job too. Thank you all, and please be safe, and hopefully we can do this again. All right?
All right, just one more thing. For
Okay.
again, anybody that's heading to prison, do your time. Don't make it hard. If you're there, just write it out. Don't do anything stupid. If you're a CEO, do your research beforehand because it's not always in your best interest.
Hmm, no doubt. No doubt. And thank you all for coming through and checking us out. This is your boy Big Miss from the Zoo. Please, y'all come in. Y'all can like, share, subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. You take it easy. You have a good day, sir. All right.
All right, everybody, have a great day.
All right. Later.